Hello Mark, I'm Kiwi. My number is 31. I am sophomore. My major is English. Today the title of speech is Every City Needs Healthy Honeybees. The speaker is Noah Wilson Rich. This man is wearing that we call a bee beard, laughter, a beard full of bees. Now, this is what many of you might picture when you think about honeybees, maybe insects or maybe anything that has more legs than two. And let me start by telling you, I gotcha. I understand that, but there are many things to know, and I want you to open your minds here. Keep them open and change your perspective about honeybees. Notice that this man is not getting stung. He probably has a queen bee tied to his chin, and the other bees are attracted to it. So this really demonstrates our relationship with honeybees. And that goes deep back for thousands of years. We are very co-evolved because we depend on bees for pollination and even more recently as an economic commodity. Many of you may have heard that honeybees are disappearing, not just dying, but they are gone. We don't even find their dead bodies. This is called colony collapse disorder, and it's bizarre. Researchers around the globe still do not know what's causing it, but what we do know is that with the declining number of bees, the cost of over 130 fruits and vegetable crops that we rely on for food is going up in price. So honeybees are important for their role in the economy as well as in agriculture. Here you can see some pictures of what are called green roofs or urban agriculture. We are familiar with the image on the left that shows a local neighborhood garden in the South End. That's where I call home. I have a beehive in the backyard and perhaps a green roof in the future. When we are further utilizing urban areas where there are stacks of garden spaces, check out this image above the orange line in Boston. Try to spot a beehive. It's there, it's on the rooftop, right on the corner there, and it's been there for a couple of years now. The way that urban beekeeping currently operates is that the beehives are quite hidden, and it's not because they need to be, it's just because people are uncomfortable with the idea. And that's why I want you to today to try to think about this. Think about the benefits of bees in cities and why they really are a terrific thing. Let me give you a brief rundown on how pollination works. So we know flowers, we know fruits, and vegetables. Even some aphela inhalate the livestock for the meats that we eat, rely on pollinators. But you've got male and female parts to a plant here. And basically, pollinators are attracted to plants for their nectar, and in the process, a bee will visit some flowers to pick up some pollen, or leave male kind of sperm counterpart along the way, and they travel to different flowers, and eventually an apple in this case will be produced. You can see the orientation, the stem is done, the blossom and has fallen off by the time we eat it. But that's a basic overview of how pollination works. And let's think about urban living. Not today and not in the past, but what about in 100 years? What's gonna look like? We have huge grand challenges these days of habitat loss. We have more and more people, billions of people in 100 years. God knows how many people and how little space there will be to fit all of them. So we need to change the way that we see cities. And looking at this picture on the left of New York City today, you can see how gray and brown it is. We have tar paper on the rooftops and bunches heat back in the atmosphere, contributing to global climate change, no doubt. What about in 100 years if we have green rooftops everywhere and gardening and we create our own crops in the cities? We save on the cost of transportation, we save on a healthier diet. And we also educate and create new jobs locally. We need bees for the future of our cities and urban living. Here's some data that we collected through our company with Best Bees, where we deliver, install, and manage honeybee hives for anybody who wants them in the city, in the countryside, and we introduce honeybees. And the idea of beekeeping in your own backyard or rooftop or fire escape for even that matter, and seeing how simple it is and how possible it is. There's a counterintuitive trend that we notice in these numbers, so let's look at the first metric here. Overwintering survival. Now, this has been a huge problem for many years, basically since the late 1980s, when the environment came and brought many different viruses, bacteria, and fungal diseases with it. Overwintering success is hard, and that's when most of the colony are lost. And we found that in the cities, bees are surviving better than they are in the country. A bit counterintuitive, right? We think of bees, countryside, agriculture, but that's not what the bees are showing. The bees like it in the city, laughter. Furthermore, they also produce more honey. The urban honey is delicious. The bees in Boston on the rooftop of the Seaport Hotel, where we have hundreds of thousands of bees flying overhead right now, and I'm sure none of you notice when we walk by. And going to all of the local community gardens and making delicious, healthy honey that just tastes like the flowers in our city. So the yield for urban hives in terms of honey production is higher as well as overwintering survival compared to rural areas. Again, a bit counterintuitive. And looking back historically at the timeline of honeybee health, we can go back to the year 950 and see that there was also a great mortality of bees in Ireland. So the purpose of bees today isn't necessarily something new. It, it has been happening since over 1,000 years ago, but what we don't really notice are these problems in cities. So one thing I want to encourage you to think about is the idea of what an urban island is. You think in the city maybe the temperature's warmer. Why are bees doing better in the city? This is a big question now to help us understand why they should be in the city. Perhaps there's more pollen in the city. With the chance coming into urban hubs, they can carry pollen with them, very light pollen, and it's just a big supermarket in the city. A lot of linden trees live along the railroad tracks. Perhaps there are fewer pesticides in the cities than there are in rural areas. Perhaps there are other things that we are just not thinking about yet, but that's one idea to think about urban islands. And colony collapse disorder is not the only thing affect honeybees. Honeybees are dying, and it's a huge grand challenge of our time. What you can see up here is a map of the world, and we are checking the spread of this virus mind. Now the virus mind is what challenged the game in beekeeping, and you can see at the top right, the years are changing. We are coming up to modern times, and you can see the spread of the railroad mine from the earlier 19th century through now. It's 1986 and 1968, and we're pretty much covering Asia. 1971, we saw it spread to Europe and South America, and then when we get to the 1980s, and specifically to 1987, the Varroa mine finally came to North America and to the United States, and that's it. That's when the game changed for honeybees in the United States. Many of us will remember our childhood growing up. Maybe you got stung by a bee. You saw bees on flowers. Think of the kids today. Their childhoods are a bit different. They don't experience this. The bees just aren't around anymore. So we need bees, and they're disappearing, and it's a big problem. What can we do here? So what I do is honeybee research. I got my PhD studying honeybee health. I started in 2005, studying honeybees. In 2006, honeybees started disappearing. So suddenly, like these little nerd kids going to school working with bugs laughter became very relevant in the world, and it worked out that way. So my research focuses on ways to make bees healthier. I don't research what is killing the bees per se. I am not one of the many researchers around the world who's looking at the effect of pesticide, pesticide or disease or habitat loss and poor nutrition on bees. We are looking at ways to make bees healthier through vaccine, through yogurt like probiotics and other types of therapies in ways that can be fed orally to bees. And this process is so easy. Even a 7 years old can do it. You just mix up some pollen, sugar, and water, and whatever active ingredient you want to put in, and you just give it right to the bees. No chemicals involved, just immune boosters. Humans think about our own health in a prospective way. We exercise, we eat healthy, we take vitamin. Why don't we think about honeybees in that same type of way? Bring them to areas where they are thriving and try to make them healthier before they get sick. I spent many years in grad school trying to poke bees and do vaccine and needles. After like years at the being. Oh my gosh, it's 3 a.m. and I'm still drinking bees laughter. And then one day I said, why don't we just do an oral vaccine? It's like, so that's what we do, laughter. I would love to share with you some image of urban beehives because they can be anything. I mean, really open your mind with this. You can paint a hive match your home. You can hire a hive inside your home. These are three hives on the rooftop of the Fairmont Coppola five-star hotel, and they are beautiful here. I mean, we matched the new color of the inside of their rooms to do some types of stained wood with blue for their sheets. And these bees are terrific, and they also will use herbs that are growing in the garden. That's what the chefs go to use for their cooking. And the honey they do live events. They'll use that honey at their bars. Honey is a great nutritional substitute for regular sugar because there are different types of sugar in there. We also have a classroom hive project where this is a non-profit venture. We are spreading the word around the world for how honeybee hives can be taken into the classroom or into the museum, sitting behind glass, and use it as an educational tool. This hive that you see here has been in Fenway High School for many years now. The bees fly right into the outfield of Fenway Park. Nobody notices if you are not a flower. These bees do not care about you. Laughter. They don't, they will say. Excuse me, flying around laughter. Some other image there in telling a part of the story that really made urban beekeeping terrific in New York City. Beekeeping was illegal until 2010. That's a big problem because what's going to pollinate all of the gardens and produce locally? Hence, I mean locally in Boston. There is a terrible company called Green City Growers, and they are going and pollen pollinating their squash crops by hand with quick tips, and if they miss that 3-day window, there's no fruit. Their clients aren't happy, and people go hungry, so this is important. We have also some image of honey from Brooklyn. Now, this was a mystery in the New York Times, and where the honey was very red, and the New York State Forensic Department came in and they actually did some science to match the red dye with that found in a Maraschino cherry factory down the street after. So you can tailor your honey to taste however you want by planting bee-friendly flowers. Paris has been a terrific model for urban beekeeping. They've had hives on the rooftop of their opera house for many years now, and that's what really got people started thinking, wow, we can do this and we should do this also in London and in Europe across the board. They're very advanced in their use of green rooftops and integrating beehives. And I will show you an ending note here. I would like to encourage you to open your mind. What can you do to save the bees or to help them or to think of sustainable cities in the future? Well, really, just change your perspective. Try to understand that bees are very important. A bee isn't going to sting you if you see it. Honeybees die when they sting, so they don't want to do it either later. It's nothing to panic about. They are all over the city. You should even get your own hive if you want. There are great resources available, and there are even companies that will help get you set up and mentor you. And it's important for our educational system in the world for students to learn about agricultural world side, such as this little girl who again is not even getting stung. Thank you. Applause.